Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
What's up, Doom Nation? Welcome back once again with an emergency press conference. You're listening to the Two Doom Men podcast, and as always, it's your host, Skaggs, and the captain. And what do we got today on our emergency meeting, Skaggs?
Yes, sir, we're here. So we're going to be unable to record an episode next week, so we figured we'd do it tonight. It is Saturday night. We referenced it in the last episode, but Elon Musk did promise that he would publish the Twitter files regarding censorship and freedom of speech and things like that on Twitter, which he did do last night. So we're going to talk about that.
Part one. There's more coming out.
Yes, this will be something we'll be talking about often, I think.
Yeah.
Twitter is a major part of our show. It is, you've heard me talk about it ad nauseum. I did an episode kind of, detailing how it's not a private company. That was my solo episode. Where I kind of laid out there was a method the government had to, or the Department of Homeland Security had, to censor stuff on Twitter. So the files have dropped, and they've been called they're called the Twitter files. So Elon decided to go through an independent journalist. I'm not sure. Are you familiar with Matt Taibbi, Cap?
No.
So Matt Taibbi, he is an independent journalist. I have followed him for a long time. He is one of the few really good journalists that remain on the level of like a Glenn Greenwald, or he's one of those types. So personally, I trust him. The reason why it looks like Elon went through Matt Taibbi is because you check your work and you give it to an independent source who then goes to verify things instead of you just publishing, if like Elon had published this.
Instead of doing what CNN does, and when there's a shooter, white supremacist, a white guy killed them all, white guy. Oh, he's gay, black guy. Never mind, didn't happen.
Yeah, if exactly, you check your work essentially. So that I believe is why I'm sure Matt Taibbi did his own little digging into this, and so he's the journalist essentially breaking the news here of the information that was given to him. So we're going to read a little bit from what Taibbi has posted, because he literally posts this on Twitter itself in just a Twitter thread. It's not a news article. It's not on his Substack or anything like that. It's just a Twitter thread. Feel free to chime in anytime you want, Cap, with any thoughts and anything like that. We'll get into it. So thread the Twitter files. I'm going to skip over a couple because it's kind of a little bit of fluff here, like every journalist does. They have to set the stage and, make it a nice sounding story. So he's talking about tools that outsiders began petitioning the company to manipulate speech as well. First a little, then more than often, then constantly. He says, by 2020, requests from connected actors to delete tweets were routine. One executive would write to another, more to review from the Biden team. The reply would come back handled. And he posts screenshots and everything. These are screenshots coming from Twitter. Now, remember, Elon has purchased Twitter. That means he's got all the emails, all the, at least that wasn't erased or deleted, if that could be done. So he's got the receipts, and he's now decided to post the receipts. So again, more to review from the Biden team. These are tweets that are cited here by someone they did, I guess, scrub a little bit to keep it somewhat private. Twitter and the Biden team essentially communicating here and citing specific tweets that they want removed. And they're confirming handled these. Celebrities and unknowns alike could be removed or reviewed at the behest of a political party. I grabbed the first one under SI, defer to safety on the high profile second one, an additional report from the DNC. Look, they even
the real James Woods. If you're not familiar with James Woods, the actor, he's a huge critic of Democrats and DNC and the Biden regime, etc. So look, even one of his were flagged there by the DNC. Both parties had access to these tools. For instance, in 2020, requests from both the Trump White House and the Biden campaign were received and honored. However, this system wasn't balanced. It was based on contacts because Twitter was and is overwhelmingly staffed by people of one political orientation. There were more channels, more ways to complain, open to the left, Democrats than the right. I think maybe we'll stop here to break it down a little bit and discuss. This is also contributions by party of recipient, I believe, to Twitter. It kind of breaks down
how much money was given to Twitter, I guess, by Democrats and Republicans there. So you can see the spread is
Republicans gave them a pocket lint.
2022 Republicans gave them $451, opposed to Democrats $165,000, I believe.
Almost $1 million in 2020, right when the election was going on.
Yeah. So I think this is the first place we should stop. And yes, it is obviously skewed towards Democrats using this tool here of censorship and communication with Twitter. But I think it's important to point out to everybody, and this is one of the things that, at least in the discussion that's taking place after this has been posted, that the right and conservatives are just glossing over 100%. This has become which is going to be a conversation about here. It's going to be a conversation about Biden and the Democrats and their, they want to censor everything. But it is laid out here that it was even the Trump administration and campaign.
I just wish
Republicans putting in requests for censorship. Good.
I just wish we had more of these requests from the Republican side of what they were trying to censor.
Sure, that actually would be interesting. Yeah,
because I mean, I get it. Yeah, Trump's White House had access to these tools, but in the grand scheme of things, it's a drop in the bucket, and then you throw that bucket into the ocean of the DNC and what they got away with.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not. I'm just trying to make the point here that the problem is with government. It's not a point fingers at each other. And then, when we get the power, we just use the tools against our enemy. It's the reference we've always made to the One Ring on this show, right? The solution is to throw the ring back into Mount Doom, not to use the ring, because the ring only gets more powerful, over and over and over again. Perhaps it was the Republicans. Again, there's more to come, but perhaps it was the Republicans and the Trump administration who began using this, and then look at how tenfold it became more powerful for the Democrats. Does that sound like a winning strategy? If you're a Trump person, no, this should be destroyed, essentially. So just keep that in mind to all our conservative Trump supporting listeners out there. So the resulting slant in content moderation decisions is visible in the documents you're about to read. However, it is also the assessment of multiple current and former high-level executives. It's okay. I'm going to skip over this. Twitter, he posts a, this has to do, of course, with the Hunter Biden laptop story, which is going to kind of get into next. So Twitter took extraordinary steps to suppress the story, removing links and posting warnings that it may be unsafe. They even blocked its transmission via direct message. It's a tool hitherto reserved for extreme cases, example, child pornography. Now, I think we probably both agree, right, that freedom of speech does not apply to child pornography distribution on Twitter. Those, I am a free speech absolutist, but I think that stuff like that, perhaps should not be allowed to be shared. And, when we talk about censorship and stuff like that, we're not talking about things like that. And we're not even, at least me and you, and we're not talking about like people saying extremely hateful, racist shit for absolutely no reason. I think people should be able to say those sorts of things if they really choose to do so. I could disagree with them, just like we talked about with Kanye West, but I'm not really concerned about that. Yeah. I'm concerned about like political speech and criticism of the COVID regime and stuff that politicians are doing and whatever.
The one thing I've learned off of Twitter is that people don't have an idea at all what freedom actually is.
Yes.
I want to be free, but now you're not free. That but takes away all your freedom. I want to be free, but I don't want anybody to say the N-word on Twitter. Well, if we're all free, you have the freedom to say the N-word. It personally offends you. It personally upsets you. And I get that. But that's the part of being free. Right. If I am free to do as I choose, you don't get to decide. There's no but. There's no but. You're either free or you're not.
Yeah. And like I said, we're not concerned with the hate speech part of freedom of speech, right? We're not here advocating that we need to be free to speak so that we could go around and call people N-word. I don't care about that. I care about political speech. I think what you're referencing or the point that should be made is, that thing being done, saying that word would be considered hate speech, right? So the thing is, like, what is that exactly at the end of the day? That term could be like moved around, and it is, as they call it, the Overton window will be shifted, and hate speech will end up being, what me and you would probably consider hate speech, saying the N-word to somebody, would then become like, oh, you question the efficacy of the COVID vaccine. That's hate speech. Therefore, you have to be removed.
Well, what about
Twitter.
he was the Black Republican nominee. I forget his name, but everyone on Twitter just started calling him an Uncle Tom, whitewashed and all that stuff.
Isn't that Tim Scott, I think, right?
Yes. Yes.
We covered that a long time ago.
Yeah.
The reaction to a couple things that he said on Twitter.
So you start calling Obama an Uncle Tom or something along those lines, and people will lose their mind. But a Black Republican, we could get racist if you want.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So the White House number 19, White House spokesperson Kayleigh McEnany was locked out of her account for tweeting about the Hunter Biden laptop story, prompting a furious letter from Trump campaign staffer Mike Hahn, who seethed, at least pretend to care for the next 20 days. All right. So I don't know how much people were actually paying attention to this at the time the Hunter Biden laptop story came out, but it was like, as they say, crossing the Rubicon. It was the moment where they decided, we're just going to do, the thing that everyone knows is wrong out in the open. And at the time, there was, I don't know if you remember how many, Cap, like the intelligence agencies, how many heads of the intelligence agency confirmed this is Russian disinformation, etc., and all that stuff.
What this comes down to, and we'll get into it as the more we read, it's another conspiracy theory that was 100% true.
Yeah. Yes.
These
are the receipts now, right?
Yeah.
These are the receipts, years later.
And people still don't believe it. People still think this is Russian disinformation. They're just choosing to have their head in the sand. But, I was concerned that this was going to be a nothing burger. And it's not a nothing burger. There's stuff here, but,
there's confirmation here. That's the way I look at it.
Confirmation.
Yes.
But once again, it's just, if you just listen to your conspiracy theory friend about this a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever it was, we kind of could have put this story together without these receipts.
Right. We didn't. Right. This is old news, essentially. And I'm sure for many people who actually loyally listen to our show or other critical thinking podcasts, this is old news. They saw this coming. They knew the deal here already. You might not have known the exact specifics of like the exact who's and the conversations they had, which we're now seeing, but we knew this is what it was. Right?
And we had to imagine the government was yelling at Twitter and saying, no, we're going to say it's unsafe. No, we say it's hacked information. And we're just going to hide with that, even though there's no evidence. And we're going to suppress the story because it's bad for the big guy making 10%.
Yeah, exactly. There is, we'll talk about real quick, some of the response to this already. I just find so funny by some of the, grifters. But it was a rainy day today. I had nothing to do, so I pulled out the guns.
That's
and I
dangerous for you.
Yes, I went to war against the grifters, and I made sure I came with the receipts and posted them in the comments so that other people who like them could see the truth, although they don't care. The thing is that they don't care.
No,
a lot of people don't care about the truth, but a lot of people still do. So I was talking about
what it comes down to is these people are like the Trump people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's really going to be no wrong the Biden family can do to get them to there's no turning the tides for them. They've dug their heels in.
I agree. Right. It doesn't matter. I just find it amusing. Right. One of the main rebuttals to this I'm seeing is, that point we read earlier about the 2020 request by the Biden team to remove tweets. So one of the common rebuttals is he wasn't even president then. That's one of the common rebuttals, beyond this entire thing that is coming from like the shit libs, the NPCs, etc. So I made the point. I'm like, yeah, that's now their new phrase, right? Before, while this was occurring, their phrase was, well, it's a private company, right? So they could do whatever they want. Well, now that doesn't work anymore because, that's been blown open. So they have a new phrase now. Well, he wasn't even president then. No, I guess technically, no, Biden was not president.
Then why was he granted the power?
Right. Why was he granted the power? Imagine, let's use the reverse here. Let's pick the low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
I think
it's Donald Trump before 2016.
Right. Let's say in 2015, Donald Trump, maybe not even. Let's say, how about it's 2022, right? Let's say in 2023, in the months leading up to the election, let's say 2023, December 2023, it comes out that Donald Trump was sending requests to Elon Musk to remove Twitter posts from, prominent people on the left who are pro Biden or pro whoever he's running against the president at the time. Do you think these people would be making the argument, these same people, these shitlib NPCs, do you think they'd be making this argument that, well, he's not the president at the moment, right? So it doesn't really matter.
They wouldn't even delete the tweets that they have up there now. You would be able to fucking follow it one after another. Well, Biden wasn't the president. Oh, no, Trump's not allowed to do that. We got to impeach him. One that I saw was somebody said, I think it was Brooklyn Dad. He said,
no, he was bad today. He was bad today.
He was like
the worst. Again, these situations, one of the main points I want to make here today about the response and the backlash, these situations, they really expose who's fake and who's real, because these people, these grifters like Brooklyn Dad, they're just so like obviously phony about it. Go ahead.
Paid off.
Yeah.
He said after painstaking research of reading the Twittergate, I can now with 100% certainty say this is not Hunter Biden's laptop is not going to lower inflation.
Right. It's a straw man argument, right?
Yeah.
They're now he's concerned about inflation.
Yeah, inflation.
Brooklyn Dad. But before, he wasn't. When
there was inflation was transitory.
Transitory, right? I'm sure he was one of the people, towing that line or that narrative. So I found the reaction about this just as fun as the actual receipt confirmation that this was going on the whole time. There is definitely people who it's not going to matter. It really isn't. But
every Hunter Biden could be banging children on that laptop and videos could come out and they're going to go, oh, well, inflation's still high. Why don't you guys fix that?
Yeah. See, and again, like the Hunter Biden laptop story, is there information on there that is interesting? Yes. About the Burisma and the dealings with Ukraine and whatnot. I'm not going to rehash the whole thing right now. And then there's like the crack, the hookers, etc. It's funny, but we've said it many times on the show. I don't care, right? I don't care about, at the end of the day, I don't care about Hunter Biden's crackhead addiction and fucking hookers or whatever he does. I cared about the information in there. But the most important thing about that entire thing was the act of censorship around it. Even aside from the actual information on the laptop, all of these people, including Brooklyn Dad at the time, were saying that this was Russian disinformation. It wasn't real. Twitter was, putting it out that way. And it was real. They've even, the New York Times has even confirmed that it was real a year or so later. So you're never going to change these people's minds because they're not fucking authentic. They're not telling the truth in anything that they do.
Paid opposition, man.
Paid opposition. Exactly. All right, let's keep going here. There's more interesting stuff to come. So this led to public policy executive Caroline Strom to send out a polite "what the fuck" query. Several employees noted that there was tension between the comms/policy teams who had little/less control over moderation and the safety/trust teams. So even within Twitter itself, people
there
were
was a division.
What? Yeah, there was some division within Twitter itself because people were like, how could we, what's going on here? Hi, team. Are you able to take a closer look here? Thank you. From Caroline Strom. Strom's note returned the answer that the laptop story had been removed for violation of the company's hacked materials policy. Per checking, the user was bounced by site integrity for violating our hacked materials policy, adding them here for future insights and guidance.
So here's where I'm going to start chiming in a lot more, because this is like the part of this that really got interested to me. So scroll back up. There's an email stating that this is hacked material, but I would like to see the research that Caroline or anyone at Twitter did to prove that this is hacked material.
Right.
Because the New York Post, the New York Times or the Post?
The Post was the one who originally broke the Hunter laptop story.
New York Post did their research. That wasn't hacked material. You know what I mean? The story that the New York Post ran, that was the story. But now it's on the Twitter sphere, and now all of a sudden it's hacked material. I would like to see where they came across saying it was hacked. Because as you see later on, they're like, we know this isn't going to stick.
Yes, I think that is interesting. I wonder why that hasn't been posted, or maybe they just haven't thought of it.